Hey, if Mr. Beast happens to see this, I'd gladly take a Feastable sponsorship. I don't really like the peanut butter one though. The dark chocolate sea salt one, that shit's really good though. All the ones with milk chocolate, kind of shitty. Also, that whole like weird brick formula, I understand like the social experiment angle of that, but those things taste the best if you just eat right through them like a candy bar. So, you know, I'm just saying, Mr. Beast, let's get a sponsorship going. You know why I would take a sponsorship from Mr. Beast? Simply put, he does not have $1 billion. He has $500 million. But there's something I like about Mr. Beast, and it's that he is just he's basically just an open sociopath. He's not trying to hide it. I did literally just start the stream. Welcome. I started off the stream trying to get sponsorship from Mr. Beast. Now I'm walking down a major road that is loud, hopefully scaring off anybody who I don't want to watch the VOD of this later. If you do watch the VOD of this later, please let me know anything you want clipped, or clip it. Send me clips. If you think something's funny or cool, if there's a bit you like, time code it. There's a fucking dump truck going by. Just every conceivable type of noise happening all at once. I put out a new song. I don't know if y'all saw that. By daybreak. Wake up early and I slap 3 rappers by daybreak. I put it out early in the morning as is appropriate, but truth be told, all them rappers is asleep still. I be slapping them and they sleep. Motherfuckers ain't even wake up. Very loud stream. This is the loudest stream imaginable. Although just now the road totally cleared. But it'll be a lot quieter when I get to where I'm going. I've been drawing some new viewers to the channel, I think, with my live streams. Some people who haven't really been around, who've been saying some crazy out-of-pocket shit in my comments that I look at and I go, this can't be right. This person can't possibly be in my audience and have these opinions. How would this happen? I see simping for billionaires, uncouth behavior, tremendous in a bad way. No, not the regular transphobes, not this kind. I'm talking about billionaire simps. People who are like upset that I'm shitting on. Out of all these streams, the one that has the most dislikes is Trixie Pilled in the Trees, which is the one where I just ranted about billionaires and how evil they all are. And I've gotten varying degrees of sympathy for billionaires. One of the recent comments, I don't even remember, it actually wasn't on that video, it was on the Kendrick versus Drake video. In that one I also go into question about like, why do you need all this money? And there were comments on that video that are to the effect of like, I can't believe your commie nonsense. Why wouldn't you want billions of dollars? You could do this, and this. And I was just like, holy shit. You should love billionaires. They built the infrastructure for you to have a career in YouTube. What career in YouTube? No, they fucking didn't. No, the people who created YouTube built the infrastructure for me to have a career in YouTube, and then Google has done everything to fuck that over for me ever since. They made those guys billionaires to fuck me over. Those guys were not billionaires when they created YouTube, when they built the infrastructure for me to do this. That infrastructure was bought and has been maintained and ruined by billionaires. So, you know, there was way more money going into YouTubers before Google took over YouTube and figured out exactly how to turn it into a platform that could generate endless revenue without having to pay out so many fucking people, without having to take so many risks, without having to account for so many failures. So no, billionaires absolutely ruined this platform. Try me again. Give me another billionaire simpature. I will blast them all out of the fucking water. Try to simp billionaires here. I double fucking dare you. YouTube search engine is practically useless now. Google fucking search engine. The only thing I literally switch between, like, I use Google for image search because there's not really a good image search engine. But, you know, you gotta use like a DuckDuckGo or something for Google because you're just not gonna get anything you're fucking looking for. How am I going to find, like, a place to watch a show on Google? It's not gonna happen. Yes, my favorite time of day, exercising a parasocial relationship with a personal favorite content creator. It's all of our favorite part of the day. It's the part of the day where people with a parasocial relationship with me pay to have me rant about things that they want to hear me talk about. Oh yeah. This live streaming has been making me a lot more money than anything else I've done in years. So I'm gonna keep doing it. Enjoy. Billionaires make for good cum rags. I don't even think that's probably true. They're probably really awful at sex. Like, I can't imagine any of them is good at sex because they wouldn't, like, I have to consider the types of people who are chasing after these big numbers. And like, you know, I've been ranting a lot about the sociopathy of billionaires. I opened up this stream talking about Mr. Beast and calling for him to give me a sponsorship. Because even though I don't like this particular type of Feastables, I did like the dark chocolate and sea salt one. So sponsor me, Mr. Beast. I know you only have $500 million, so you're not on the rape list yet. But, you know, Mr. Beast is a guy who I kind of, let me put it this way. I have my own definition of trust. I don't trust people, but when I say I trust somebody, I don't mean that I trust them to do right by me. I mean that I trust them to behave predictably. That's what I consider trust is. Now, if it could be the case that somebody predictably will do right by me, not really to my standards do I think someone exists like that, but you know, it is what it is. They're helpful, they're good people. But you know, there are people I trust in that I think I know what they're gonna do, how they're gonna react, and what they are like. And Mr. Beast is one of those types of people because early on to him starting to blow up, when he was on podcasts, when he was talking about himself, he gave the most rational answers I've ever heard of a person for what they are doing, which are simply, well, I'm kind of a sociopath. I don't really understand emotions correctly, and I'm fascinated by seeing them. So I wanted to see how I could get the biggest emotional reactions out of people, and it tends to be that just giving them large sums of money creates that reaction, and other people like seeing that reaction, so I film it, I put it in front of other people, and it makes even more people react, so I can just keep getting the biggest imaginable reactions all the time, you know? Like, he's literally just trying to create emotions. He just wants he wants to see real emotion, because he doesn't understand how to feel it. He doesn't know how to create it within himself other than by intensive strain. And so his whole career has been about doing things that people who aren't as sociopathically mind broken as he is wouldn't do. Like, just like reading a phone book all day, or you know, just doing his early work. What blew him up, it didn't require any money. You know, like people ask, like, well, how did he have money to start spending money? He didn't. He just did like ridiculous things that most people would not do. And since then, people have copied a lot of those things. You know, the anime man reading every single name of an anime on Mal. Like, that is him adapting a Mr. Beast format. But Mr. Beast was like revolutionary in being the most psychotically patient person, and he continues to basically do that bit where it's like, bury me alive for a week or trap me on an island for 3 days. Like, I don't know if he feels like maybe he's a danger to society and so he's just been exiling himself from it. But a lot of his content is literally about removing himself from society and you know, from his family and friends, so that he'll appreciate them more, basically. Like, it's wild stuff. And you know, I think the kinds of people who surround him, it's fascinating. I know I'm getting a different experience when I watch a Mr. Beast video from like what children watching it are, because they're seeing it as like just a fun time where these people went out and did this fun thing, and I'm watching it from a production standpoint of thinking about like what each of these people is doing as crew members. Because like most of, like, Mr. Beast doesn't have 6 or 7 friends. He has 6 or 7 crew members that play his friends, you know, in videos. And like, I have to imagine they're all the same type of person that he is, that's just constantly driven to be doing something, making something, you know, like making something happen. And you know, all of them have to be as equally, it would take a room full of people nearly as creative as him to actually make what he's doing possible, you know. And people look at it like, well, look at all the philanthropy and all the great things that Mr. Beast has been able to do with all that money. But even from his perspective, he's been like, well, I don't know that everything, you know, I don't know that every usage of this money I've done has necessarily been healthy. Like, over the years, he's taken more advice on how to, you know, do this in a way that more people are going to look at and say, well, I don't know how to argue with that, you know. But it, to be able to even reach that point where you even have people reaching out to you to tell you how to properly spend your money, requires you to already have, you know, made a whole lot of bets, you know, done a whole lot of money turnover, you know, turning money into more money at whatever cost. So yeah, I'm fascinated with Mr. Beast. I don't think I'm afraid of him the way I am with other billionaires, maybe partially because, well, he's not a billionaire, and partially because he is younger than I am. So maybe I feel like, you know, maybe I don't think he'll ever necessarily transcend a billionaire status, although it could be that their money just keeps getting more worthless. So anybody asking me any kind of questions, you're going to have to send me a super chat for me to answer, because I'm just ranting about stuff that's on my mind for now, and otherwise I will interrupt myself to talk about whatever somebody pays me to talk about. But otherwise, this is about people simping billionaires. It's the old money billionaires you got to worry about. Well, not just them, because Drake's not old money. I mean, he's connected to old money in ways. I guess you kind of have to be a little connected to get inside, but like, and Drake's also not a billionaire, but he's also a guy with $500 million who doesn't use it nearly as you know, lovably as Mr. Beast does. But I think they're both equally like just sociopaths trying to entertain themselves. But Mr. Beast is like, what can I get away with that people will let me get away with? Like, what is society going to look at and tell me, yeah, keep going, just keep going? And I think Drake thought people would just keep telling him keep going as long as he kept being like a popular musician. But, you know, there's there's lines that you cannot cross if you still want to be a person who society beloves, you know? So I think, you know, I don't think that there's any, I don't think there's any human being on earth that if everything they had ever done was known to anybody else, that they wouldn't be considered like, oh, well, you know, I respect you less knowing everything about you, you know? But at the same time, I don't think that that's enough to mean that everybody would automatically be like condemned from being from being successful or beloved ever again. Like, I don't think Mr. Beast, if you revealed everything he'd ever done, unless he fucking murdered someone or did something really heinous, but there's no reason to think that, you know? So it's like, you know, I look at that guy and I think, well, there's still time for you to either be much worse or just always be cool, and, you know, we never remember you for something horrible. But with someone like Drake, it's like there was probably plenty of time to turn the ship around. I would even say up until he did this beef with Kendrick, there was probably still time for him to turn the ship around socially, even if, like, morally the people who really know better would always think, oh, this guy's a real piece of shit. I think that's true for so many massively powerful people where, you know, it's almost impossible to amass a lot of power without fucking somebody over really badly. And this is kind of what I keep touching on with why I think billionaires are always evil. But, like, again, with Mr. Beast, he never was putting it out there like, oh, everything I've done has been altruistic. He was like, I'm a sociopath and I'm trying to create entertainment for myself. I can respect people who are direct like that. It's like, you can manage your involvement. You can figure out, you know, how do I want to be involved with a person like that? With somebody like Drake, where they're trying to cover up their real self, it's like, well, that makes it, you know, that makes you automatically lose. Like, as soon as anybody finds out who the real you is, then they will lose they'll lose sight of the fake you, you know? And so if enough people lose sight of that fake you can't pretend to be that person anymore. So I think it's a lot safer to be an out and out psycho like Mr. Beast than it is to pretend to be cool like Drake. And someone like Kendrick, you know, that guy is like, I'm a psychopath, you know? Kendrick has never been pretending to not be a psychopath. I absolutely think that guy has, you know, fucked some people over. But do I hate him for it? No, because he's done so much good for me. How could I? Now, I don't think it's possible to reach the status of billionaire without having actually fucked over everyone. Like, you have to basically have put yourself above literally everybody to get to that point. There's only like 2,200 billionaires. There's not a lot of them. You could fit all of the billionaires in a hotel. You know, like, there's not a ton of billionaires. They have so much disproportionately more of the world's income than everyone else that, you know, it's only possible to accrue that much of the overall wealth by fucking over, like, by taking it away from everyone else. Like, imagine if there was, for instance, a 99% tax on billionaires, meaning that they had to give $900 million of their billion a year, assuming they make $1 billion every year, to the government, and they were able to then hold on to $100 million a year. You can do anything you ever have wanted to do with $100 million a year. The government, you might not trust them, but ultimately they are the public works project that the entirety of society has, you know, I'll put democratically in big air quotes, but, like, it's more democratic than a billionaire. You know, a billionaire made all their decisions for themselves to benefit themselves. They can have their own ideations about how they think they can help society. But that's one person's idea versus the whole collective of the country's idea of what is right to do for the public. And a lot of those ideas can't be realized because we don't have the money to give our government. Because the billionaires have all the money and they're not giving it to the government because the government is desperate for them to get the money to them through other avenues. Basically, they need the money from the billionaires. The government's not profitable enough to compete with billionaires, to control billionaires. If the government tried to put a 99 tax on billionaires, billionaires would go to war with the US government and win. They'd buy off our fucking debt. They'd just, there's no beating billionaires. So simping them is insane. Like, thinking that you're gonna be one of them one day, totally insane. There's only 2,000 of them. Everything that's ever been accomplished by society has been done without the necessity of a billionaire. And I'm not saying that billionaires haven't funded some crazy public work projects. A lot of the railroads in America funded by billionaires, but you know it's a way crazier, way more beneficial public works project that was more so funded by the government? The fucking interstate. Way more impressive. And yeah, it's just like that. I don't think that people who think that billionaires are trying to do something altruistic, again, you don't get to decide what is altruistic. No one man should have all that power, as Ye would say, who is a man who has been a billionaire multiple times. I don't know if he is right now. His fucking monetary value fluctuates all the time. And I've called Ye also somebody who on some level I trust, in that I expect him to make certain insane decisions. I got a super chat to answer right quick from Be'il Sabab. I think that's how I read your name, Be'il Sabab, for $2. Can we get your thoughts about Neon Genesis Evangelion? I actually have a video, part of my series, so if you've been watching the We Watch Anime channel, where I talk about anime, it's the only channel on YouTube where you'll find me talking about anime, is on the We Watch Anime channel. I've been putting out videos every other week where I cover just all kinds of stuff. Basically, I wrote a whole bunch of scripts at the start of the year, and I'm, editing them as the year goes and releasing them. The next one I have is actually partially about Neon Genesis Evangelion, comparing it to Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of their storytelling styles, where I compare them as storytelling spirals, basically, an inward spiral versus an outward spiral. Maybe some of you can figure out what the fuck I mean with that before even seeing the video, but I'll be impressed, because I've been trying to edit this video for a while, and even I'm confused about, like, how do I represent visually what the fuck I am saying in this? So it's been a challenge. But I also have a full-on Eva video called something like another Evangelion analysis, or like I think it's one more Evangelion analysis video that's just like oh, I don't even remember how to describe the subject. It's very errant. It's just like, here are some thoughts, So you will get some thoughts on Evangelion on the We Watch Anime channel, which everybody should subscribe to if they like anime. And yes, I talk about Gurren Lagann also in this video. Is the anime alphabet dead? I don't think so, but it's just not a strong value proposition for me to work on it, especially right now, as these live streams have been incredibly successful compared to anything else I've done in years. When I was doing Anime Alphabet, basically, I tried to come up with, like, what is a series of videos that I think I could do the best and would be most likely to get very successful. Like, 50,000 views was my target. Every video has like a sequel planned at 50,000 views. The only one that's hit it is Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and that was recently. So they haven't been super successful in an immediate sense. And yeah, I mean, I really put a fuckload of effort into each of them, so it's the kind of thing where I kept at it for like 6 months before I was like, I don't know, man, these aren't more than 6 months. Closer to how many letters did I do? A, B, C, D, E, F, H, I, J, K, L? I did 12. Okay, so I did like a whole year of Anime Alphabet, and they weren't blowing up. So yeah, that's why I have not done more, is just it takes a lot of work to do it, and I just didn't get nearly enough attention. I didn't get like a big surge in patrons from doing it. I didn't get a big surge in views from doing it. You know, all the videos that do have a decent amount of views, it's taken a very long time for them to get there. But having said that, the Legend of Galactic Heroes video did hit 50K, so I will be doing a follow-up to that where I cover all the OVAs because I think it will be successful. The Cardcaptor Sakura video hit 25K, and I promised I would do a ranking of all of the outfits in the show. That video keeps getting taken down by YouTube and put back up. It seems to be up now, so I'm worried that doing another Cardcaptor video, the same thing will happen. So I'm gonna have to get clever with the editing, but you know, I would like to do that. I still think that would be a fun video. But as for like Eureka 7, for instance, I way feature bloated that video. I got too excited about breaking down like the entire production background of the show, only to realize like halfway through that there wasn't nearly as much information about the second half of the show as the first half. So I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to like format shift this. Just a nightmare. I shouldn't have published segments of it before the whole thing was done, but I was gonna miss a deadline. I didn't want to do that, and now I've missed all the deadlines, so what does it matter in the long run? So probably if I were to bring back Anime Alphabet, besides doing the sequel videos, I would finish the Eureka 7 one, make that its own, like make a full version of it, and then continue on. But I've also considered just re-uploading them all to We Watch Anime and seeing if any of them catch a second life there. But I'll probably wait till We Watch Anime has grown a little bit more, you know, just so that they can hit a little harder, you know, maybe with people who aren't already subscribed to Yig Studio. Anywho, that answers those questions. Send super chats if you have anything you'd like me to rant about specifically. In the meantime, back to Billionaires. People who are defending Billionaires in my comments, they keep bringing up this idea that you could fund like huge public works projects or be like a patron of the arts or whatever. I don't understand what the fuck these people think shit costs. Nothing costs billions of dollars unless it costs tremendously more than that. And like, whatever the case is, you are not going to be paying for it like out of pocket. You're going to be part of a sponsorship. Like, so say for instance you're a billionaire and you know it would benefit you greatly because you own Walmart for there to be like better roads going into rural communities. So you want to be a part of funding these roads. So you would team up with the government and fucking whatever other billionaires or millionaires or business owners are willing to team up with you to co-fund this project. And, you know, it would all depend on like what you could profit from. Like, you can't just spend the money willy-nilly. You'd have to know you were going to make a profit back. You couldn't just like deposit all your funds into something because you want it to exist. Because the only reason you would have all that money is, you know, that the money had to come from people who are giving you the money, like letting you play with the money. People have to decide that they trust you with the money. Like, the reason Kanye has bounced back and forth between being a billionaire so many times is that he just loses and regains trust with brands. Or even, so a lot of it's just like fakery, or people change, the brands change hands, and he's got different relationships with different people within all of that, you know. But it's just, nobody just like has billions of dollars with which they get to do whatever they want. They get to do whatever people will let them do. And if you have a lot of money and you've been successful, people will let you do more because the things you do will be backed just by people who want your brand to still exist. You know, like people who are making a profit off of you making a profit are going to help ensure that you keep making a profit. So like, you know, as a billionaire, you can contribute to public works, but only to the degree that you have the people like on your side. Like if you became a billionaire by fucking over, you know, people that would have the power to help you, this is where Drake's at right now, right? Like he's, again, not a billionaire. I'm sure he has touched more than $1 billion, but he's a gambler, so I'm sure he's lost plenty more than $1 billion. But you know, that's somebody who, he believed that having the amount of money and clout and position in the industry he did protected him, but he wasn't protected from everyone turning against him. He wasn't protected from everybody just saying, hey, like, you can't succeed without pulling on the power from all of these people that think they owe you because you're at the top. But if we can convince all those people they don't owe you, then you're fucked. You know, like, as soon as everybody says, hey, Drake, I know you gave me some opportunities, but actually, when I really realized it, I realized you were fucking me over in other ways, then they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna back you anymore. So it's like, to even be able, to be capable of being like a philanthropist billionaire, you already have to be not a, like, not somebody that nobody will work with because they think you're going to fuck them, you know, like, it's just, I think it's more important to have good people on your side than it is to have a lot of money, because the kinds of people that you can buy with money are people who don't have a side because nobody wants them. The kinds of people who need money to get people to their side are people who don't have anyone on their side because nobody wants them. This is what you always see. I mean, if you've watched fucking even a cartoon, like a group of bad guys, this is the type of people that come together, you know, is somebody who has fucked over so many people that nobody will be around them anymore except for desperate people who don't know any better because they're outsiders. And so they just are looking for an in-group, they're looking for a paycheck, they come to, you know, this person because they wouldn't know what a stable person looks like. They wouldn't know what a stable relationship looks like. So, you know, they end up drawn to that villainous character. And that's how someone like Drake ends up with all these people around him. But all those types of people, if they're only around you for money, as soon as the money stops coming in, they leave. Or as soon as, I mean, they're all gonna fuck each other over because that's already what got them all to be in that position in the first place, of lacking community such that they are so desperate for money, they end up working towards evil, you know? Or they're just bad people with bad intentions, you know? But like, that's the type of people that are grouping up to support billionaires. So, you know, before you go and think like, oh, if I had billions of dollars, I'd be able to sponsor a public works project, just inspire people to want that to happen. You don't need billions of dollars. The much more effective way is to educate people about why the thing that you want to happen is necessary, so that people will just come together and do it. People will make that money appear. You know, they'll write to their fucking Congress people and tell them how to spend the money that they're sending them. And if the congressperson is corrupt and isn't listening to their people, then that's when you have to start fighting against your government, you know? But that's the way that things are supposed to get done, not that somebody just decides, I think I know what's best, so I'm gonna steal all the money from everybody else, and I'm gonna hire all the most desperate people in the world to, you know, lick my boots and do as I say. And, you know, that's how they just keep amassing power. And again, I'm not saying the government's not also like this, because there's lots of gangsters in the government, and the government is just a big gang. But I do think that governmental power, by deliberately, is distributed broadly enough that it is easier to eliminate, cancerous cells from it than it is to eliminate the cancer from the soul of a billionaire. So that's why I trust the government a little bit more than billionaires. Not very much, though. About as much more as I can throw it. I can't take any of this seriously since you keep simping for Kanye West. I have not simped for Kanye West at all. You're totally misunderstanding. You got to think about the words a little more. I never said anything. I don't like Ye. I don't think he's like a good guy. I said that I trust him the same. Maybe you weren't here when I was talking about my definition of trust, but trust does not mean that somebody will do right by you. You trust somebody because you understand what they will do. That's what that means to me. I don't think you should trust people to do right by you as a matter of course. You should trust people insofar as you understand the way that they operate, and therefore you feel as though you can move within their operation. When I say that I trust Ye in the sense that I think I understand how he thinks to some degree, what I mean is I would be in the same room with him, and I think that one of us would have to come away thinking a little bit differently than the other person, or than we did. I think both of us would have to come out of the situation with a different impression of how the world works if we met one another. And I would like to have that impression on Ye. So I guess if I say I want to meet Ye, it's because I want to change Ye. I want to make him understand the world differently than he does now. And I think he has the capacity to do that based on the way that he behaves. But it's not that I like him. I think he's a fucking stupid ass dirtbag. I mean, it's kind of fascinating. Like, Ye is like he cancels himself before anybody can cancel him. Like, he knows he's a bad guy, so he just comes out with it up front. Kind of like what I was saying, I respect Mr. Beast for being an outright sociopath and just saying so and like admitting what he's doing up front. And I do think Ye is similar in that regard, where, literally before even cancel culture, like, he was already concerned. He was already being canceled. Like, he was like the first person to start having the things he said get him canceled. And like a lot of the stuff that he accused himself of, like, other people have been fully taken down for. And I think the only reason that he hasn't been is that he has always come out in front of it. He's like, damn, the shit I do to women, I should probably get canceled. And it's like, well, okay, if you say so first, then I guess it's probably true. Gary always with $2. I can fix him crazily. I think you might be right. I mean, I just think he's somebody who changes his mind a lot. And I don't think I would change him in a way that I would be satisfied with, like, the resultant person necessarily. I just think I could have some effect on the way he goes about things. And, that would be enough for me to have an influence on one of the most influential people who, I wouldn't immediately want shot if I met him. Basically, that's what I'll say about Ye. I guess but for me, it's also selfish thinking, because I look at it like Ye has done so much to bring hip-hop to the fold. Like, I've called Kendrick Lamar the most influential artist, and that's partly because I want it to be true. I don't think you could have Kendrick without having Ye first. I don't think you could have Drake without having Ye first. And he's been around for, his influence goes back all the way to the 2000s, So, like, I wouldn't put him I don't know if he's a millennial or an exennial. He's either like one of the first millennials or like one of the last exennials, you know? But he's definitely massively influential on millennials. So like I look at him as a dude who I think that too much of my existence is indebted to him for me to totally spit in the face of his existence and be like, oh yeah, but you did this and that to this and that person. It's like, well, those people weren't me. Like, his existence probably benefited me more than it hurt me. But at the same time, he's kind of been on like a bit of a transphobic, not even that he's being openly transphobic, but that he's just accrued such a like fucking weird alt-right, you know, meme audience of like weird people around him, where trans people are getting like mugged at his shows and shit, and it's just an ugly look. It's a real ugly look where Ye's at. And I think, you know, I think it would be hard for him to meet somebody like me and feel no sense of apology towards allowing that, you know? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to get Ye to say trans rights. That's all I need. I just need to get Ye to say trans rights. Kendrick said trans rights. Kendrick made Auntie talk, you know? He already said trans rights. I need to hear Ye say trans rights now. I don't need him to point back to some time he might have said it before. I need him to say it again. You know? You don't think he would give a shit either way? Maybe not, but I think the reason Kendrick said it is the same reason I think Ye would say it, which is God complex. They're both people who want to be Jesus at the core of it. They see themselves as Christ-like figures. They see themselves as, I'm going to sacrifice, you know, I'm going to sacrifice myself as much as I can for everyone else. But even more so than Kendrick, and I think Kendrick has this to a smaller degree, but Ye really believes that doing what is best for himself will be what's best for humanity. I think he thinks that, you know, when he was trying to build his fucking compound out in Wisconsin, he thought, you know, building a perfect little idyllic society to raise my children in is going to ripple out and affect the way everyone else chooses to live their lives, and more people are going to copy this. But he didn't have the personal stability to actually realize that. He just had the power to make it happen, but he didn't actually understand what the fuck he was doing, you know, and that's a lot of his career. There are some things he absolutely knows what he's doing. Overpricing for fucking merch, he knows exactly what he's doing on that front, you know, but when it comes to, you know, just all of the crazy, and I understand this as somebody, I've made a lot of these same types of mistakes, like just trying to go way too far into something that, like, theoretically I can afford to do this, but it doesn't mean I know how, or that it's not going to go over budget or run into problems that I can't anticipate as somebody who's never dealt with this before, you know? So, like, I get how that kind of stuff happens. But, would Jesus go on Alex Jones? Of course. Jesus would go on every program. Jesus literally denied nobody. That's the whole concept of Jesus. Jesus would bathe a fucking horse feet with his hair. He would do anything. He would talk to anybody. That's why I think that I could talk to, and again with Kendrick, I don't think I need to talk to him. I think Kendrick has more perspective than I do into a lot of the same things. I think I've gotten too much of my perspective from Kendrick, I'll say. And I think it would be difficult for Ye to meet Kendrick on the level of not just seeing him as like a younger rapper who's influenced by him. But I'm not like that. You know, like, I might have grown up with Ye and his influence, but I wasn't a fan. I'm not a fan now. You know, he's never been my favorite. He's never been an idol of mine. He's just made some songs I like over the years. I do think he's brilliant in his own way, but I don't hold him on that pedestal where I don't think I could have a conversation with him where I could, like, meet him from a place of understanding where he's coming from, but also being like, you got to understand that the way you operate makes people like me want nothing to do with you, you know? And you would not have to change that much. You start saying trans rights, and the trans community fucking loves Ye. They love his music. I know trans people who will sit there and complain about Ye's politics while pointing to their Kids See Ghosts poster on their wall. I know these people. If Ye came out and said trans rights tomorrow, they would be on his dick like white on rice. And I don't support that either. I don't think you should dick ride billionaires, including Ye. But I would rather you dick road a billionaire that says trans rights than a billionaire that is anti-trans. And so as long as Ye has anti-trans sentiment surrounding him, as long as J.K. Rowling has anti-trans sentiment never-endingly spewing from her fucking disgusting, vomit-inducing existence, I don't know how to describe what would the maw be, you know? Like, it's not just a mouth, it's like the gaping dragon from Dark Souls, sorry. You know, just an awful, putrid. Anyway, Elon Musk also anti-trans sentiment. That's a guy who's just doing it, I think, out of vindictiveness towards his fucking kids. Somebody brought up Heihachi Mishima earlier. That's Elon Musk if he was like, if Heihachi Mishima was about brains instead of fighting, I think he would be the same guy. Like, if all he cared about... I think Mishima's also supposed to be, like, a genius. Not Mishima, Heihachi. I keep fucking his name out. I'm just gonna call him Heihachi. Heihachi from Tekken is, like fucking... I think in the new games he's, like, 100-something years old. But he's, like, the ultimate... You know, he's trained to be the worst... Like, basically just the worst human being alive because that gives him ultimate power. And I believe that through his physical strength, he also has much intelligence. But I don't know Tekken lore that much. But it's okay if he's anti-Semitic, but not if he's anti-trans. I never said that either. I just said that trans people would ride his dick if he was... you gotta understand that... I think Ye needs to work on his messaging a lot. But right now, the movement is anti-Zionism is not anti-Jew. Judaism is a religion. You know, there is a whole different power structure that happens to be Jewish, and so people call it the Jews, but it's not that like all Jews are in on a cabal or whatever. There's just like a bunch of really powerful Jews who won't let you have anything if you're not a Jew. Like, they won't... I think Ye probably just wants to buy a house that a Jew owns, and that's it. By the way, I'm partially Jewish myself, so you know, I don't mean any of this as a disparaging thing. I don't know if you can tell by my features, but I have Ashkenazi, East European Jewish heritage. My great-grandparents fled during the Holocaust to the U.S., so, you know, when I say Jew, I'm not saying it like a insult, but I think that there are, again, there's not a whole ton of billionaires. There's only so many, you know, people with hundreds of millions of dollars. And so when you're at that highest level of competition, how do you compete? Like, so, okay, I've been joking a lot about how Elon Musk or J.K. Rowling should morally, I'm not saying that anybody should do this, I'm just saying that in a morally just world, they would be raped. I've been saying this a lot lately, like all the time. It's basically the only thing that comes out of my mouth, is how badly it needs to happen. So, the reason I keep saying that is because how do you threaten a billionaire? If you say you're going to kill them, like, no you're not. How? How the fuck are you gonna kill a billionaire? You know, infinitely protected. How would you even find out where one is without getting you know, like put onto a list of a kill list or something. Like, you can't. There's no way to like meaningfully threaten them. So you just have to say the most uneasy, shaky thing you can. You know, like what would put them off? What would just fuck around with their mind in their day? You know, being constantly afraid that everyone thinks it's morally okay if they just got raped at any moment. That's how you would make billionaires feel just a little bit less gung-ho. Like, imagine if the public sentiment about billionaire was not, I want to be a billionaire. It was, I hope I never become a billionaire, because then everybody will think I should be raped. I just think that would be a healthier world than the one we live in. So, you know, I look at it and I think, what are these people trying to do? Who are they trying to protect? You know, what are they trying to accomplish when they go after one another for things like race? Like when Jay-Z is attacking the Jews, or when Ye is attacking the Jews, and the answer is, specifically in the case of the Jews, property. They just want the property, because property in America is fucking, the property rates just keep going up. Everything's getting bought out by mega corporations, by China, by billionaires desperately trying to grab at what land they can before it all gets bought out by BlackRock and you know, interest groups, and just empty houses that cost an infinite amount of money. That's what America's becoming. And nowhere livable. Americans themselves are being pushed further and further into tighter and tighter quadrants as our gigantic open country remains mostly unused. So I look at it and I see Jay-Z and Ye both saying, how do we like culturally affect other billionaires that we are competing with? Like, if I want this person's land because they're never going to sell it to a black guy, they'll only sell it to another Jewish guy. Like, how do I shame them out of that? How do I make it so the next generation grows up hearing you know, these complaints and feels guilt or something? You know, like, they're just trying to create a destabilization in the power structure that they see, and they are pitching it to us, the people, like it's for our sake. But it doesn't benefit us at all. It benefits them. Ye is the one who wants people to like Jews less so that he can compete personally with Jewish billionaires. It does not affect the rest of us in any way whatsoever. None of us are in competition with billionaires. We are under control of billionaires. We are in the pockets of billionaires. We have no conceptual power over them other than the horses we back, like the avatars we choose basically as our cultural forefronts. And so that's why each of these people, each of these massively powerful celebrities just says, just keep backing me and I'll make the world better for you. And some of them are just saying, I'll just keep giving you dope music, you know? I'm gonna dress you better. I'm gonna fucking entertain you for hours out of every day. I'm gonna do this or that to make it so your world is a little bit better. And that's why you should give all your money to me. And all I'm saying is, if you want to be my avatar, Mr. Beast, simply give me a sponsorship for Feastables. Or, I don't know, what else you got? What are some Mr. Beast brands? Mr. Beast, I'll go to war with all the other billionaires for you. You know why? Because Mr. Beast's best friend is a trans girl. That's why. Mr. Beast has a trans girl in every single video that he makes. And I know they like probably edit around her for fucking China or something. I don't care. That's trans rights said in every video. So right now, you know, Mr. Beast, give me that sponsorship. If not Feastables, what else? What else does Mr. Beast fucking sell that he could sponsor me about? Mr. Beast is like 8 years younger than me. So maybe I can pull off manipulating and grooming him as he ascends to a billionaire. Maybe I can instill my values in Mr. Beast before he makes $1 billion. And then he'll be my pocket billionaire. I will be the secret... The squirrel is coming right up to me. What the fuck? Squirrel, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you coming right up to me? This is unusual behavior for a forest squirrel. You're very cute. I'm not going to pet you. I don't know. I don't have food. Oh, you want my wrapper. You want my Feastables wrapper. Oh, of course. Look, I mean, what better ad could you get for Feastables? That squirrel wanted it. Somebody timestamped that. This is now a YouTube short about how badly that squirrel wanted that Feastables. Mr. Beast, please, I'm looking for a Feastables sponsorship. I'm carrying around wrappers in the forest and giving them to squirrels. I am a rapper in the forest, and I'm a girl, trans. That's the way that my glands hit. What the fuck does that mean? It's legit, so nobody knows. Just the pros who spit the pros to get the hose. You know what I'm talking about. Cool squirrel. Ah yes, Mr. Beast going on CNN in a Madoka Magica shirt after being groomed by Trixie. That would be fucking hilarious. That'd be the right shirt probably too. And I wouldn't have even thought of it, but I'm glad you're here to help. I'm glad the meme masters are here to help me spread my message. So Mr. Beast, you know, you don't have to contact me. If you can't afford to sponsor me directly, just wear the Madoka Magica shirt and I will know. I'll pick up the signal. As soon as I see Mr. Beast, or anybody, it doesn't even have to be him. I could more reasonably see, you know, someone in his camp, just slipping the Madoka shirt in there somewhere. But as soon as I see a Madoka shirt in a Mr. Beast appearance, I'll know we're on the wavelength. I've got my sponsor, my cultural sponsor in place. Let's go. I'm all hyped now about getting sponsored by Mr. Beast, which is just a fantasy I'm inventing in the woods. But I think it could happen. There's no reason to think Mr. Beast would not give me a Feastable sponsor, considering that I brought it to the squirrels. So, squirrel is about 55 minutes in. Thank you. Thank you. I will take note. What a fucking friendly squirrel. What a unafraid. I mean, maybe people have fed that squirrel before. Just, you know, I've never been approached by any sort of animal in this woods, but I was still holding the wrapper in my hand, so I assume he smelled the residue of chocolate. Alright, well, if anybody has anything they want me to rant about, send me one of them super chats and I'll go off. Otherwise, I'm just wandering the woods. My tennis shoes got soaked in the rain the other day, so I'm wearing these loafers out in the woods. Comment Pikachu with $5. Thank you very much. Hey, I recently watched your vid on Millennials' War on Pedos. How do you think it relates to the rise of lolicons in the US? Has there been a rise of lolicons in the US? Maybe there has. I think they've just gotten a little bit more open, maybe. But, you know, I honestly think that the rise of lolicon is possibly a part of the, like, that a lot of those lolicons probably agree with the war on pedophilia. Because, like, the last thing a lolicon wants is to be called a pedophile. So they're probably pretty, like, anti-pedophile. But, except for the ones who are pedophiles, you know? Of which there are some. Like, I can't say that lolly is all in one or the other category. For me, it's become uncomfortable. I kind of talked about this on a recent live stream that, like, you know, I related to Lolly when I was young, when I was like losing my own youth and kind of trying to recapture it through anime. But now that I'm actually old and I find like anything that reminds me of youth is like annoying in and of itself. Like, if I get the impression that a person or a character is under 25, I am immediately annoyed. And I don't think it's, or I almost think it's impossible at this point that I wouldn't be able to tell if someone was at least under 23. Like, I don't think that anybody under 23 behaves in a way where I wouldn't be able to detect that this person is substantially younger than me, that they're a decade younger than me, you know? And it doesn't mean that they're immature. It doesn't mean that they're not cool or intelligent. They might be all of those things more than I am. It doesn't mean that I can't tell. Just, and it's like a weird sense thing where I just think, I'm a lot older than you, you know? And there's just certain stuff that I'm just gonna know and understand innately that I would have to explain to you, or that you would only know because you've talked to somebody else my age, you know? But like that isn't innate. And so, you know, for me, that is like a wall to communication that then has to be climbed. You know, it's not that I don't think I could talk to people under a certain age, but I've just gotten less and less patient with with youth over time. I don't know why this is where I'm going with this rant. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I've seen more people being openly lolicon, but I can't tell if it's because I'm like more put off by it. Like, if me being more put off by it makes it more noticeable, or if it was there all along and I just wasn't really caring before, you know? So that's hard for me to determine. All right, I got another super chat from Temp Anon for $5. There's more lolicons. I think we're just way more emotionally stunted as a society compared to previously. If you've got any feelings about that, Trixie. Now that I agree with. I would say there's not more lolicons, there is more infantilization, and I do think that has contributed to my discomfort. Because, so, I feel like everybody has a part of them that's just like, I never want to grow up. I was a Toys R Us kid. I don't know about y'all. You remember the song, I don't want to grow up, I want to be a Toys R Us kid? You know, I grew up, like, my parents would always tell me, one day you're gonna like girls, and I'd be like, I'm never gonna like girls. One day you're gonna not want to play with toys anymore. I'm always gonna want to play with toys. Like, I was very insistent about being a kid, and that being like a part of my identity. But, like, my childhood wasn't very fulfilling in like an emotional sense. So I think I never felt like I could move on from that, you know? Like, everyone around me wanted to be less of a kid. Like, other kids wanted to performatively act older, and I did not. I was like, no, I'm a kid. Like, I relish in being a kid while I'm a kid. But I didn't have enough fun in that time. So I think as I was growing up, you know, I still kind of looked at the moe characters and the more like soft, infantilized content, and that was inviting to me because it felt like I was still, you know, enjoying childhood, but like vicariously through these other characters who, even if they are like teenagers, they're not acting like teenagers. Not the kind of teenagers I hung out with who said fuck as every third word that they said, and, you know, or doing drugs and having sex and like all this shit that I wasn't really doing in high school because I was still kind of in that infantile mindset of like not wanting to grow up, not wanting to face reality, to have to make decisions, to have to participate in society, you know? And I see that as something that has grown and grown as people who feel that way keep getting older and not changing that feeling at all. And it's very much a millennial thing, and I think it goes I think it might be even more present in older millennials than it is in younger millennials. Just the total man baby, fucking keep everything exactly how it was when I was a kid in the 80s. Like, those, you know, the people who are... I don't think it's wrong to still be into anything that you were into when you were a kid. But there are people who feel so emotionally about it still that it makes me think they've never gotten emotional fulfillment in their life at all. You know, like, if it really fucks with you that, like, Star Wars isn't as good as it used to be, like, I can't relate to that. You know, like, most of the stuff I liked when I was a kid, I grew up and I went, oh, that sucked. You know, like, actually, that wasn't that good. Actually, the stuff I like now is way better. And a lot of it I wouldn't have liked when I was a kid. No chance I would have liked Legend of Galactic Heroes almost any year before the year I watched it. But almost no chance was I going to think another show was better written after watching it, you know? So, man, I kind of forgot what the fuck I was ranting about. Another super chat came in, so we're going to go to that. Lapusha with Australian $5. In your last live, you talked about how trans people need to do something good for the world. Got any ideas? Yeah. Well, I think the difficult thing about this, man, being trans is so tough, but, how do you be visibly trans, like, meaning, like, so most trans people are trying to pass and not trying to draw attention to the fact that they are trans. A lot of the times, they're really hoping no one's going to notice that they are trans. So that's already a part of the issue, is that, like, it's hard to be, like, recognizably trans without that also just being something that puts people off in the first place. Because you're basically, to be not passing means you're not conforming to, like, a specific social standard of what people are, like, allowed to look like publicly, basically. So it's hard to be, like, public facing trans and also, like, on a message. But and also it's dangerous, right? But the more we travel in groups, I think that helps a lot. I'm always worried that, like, so I've had a mental image for a long time of, like, just putting together a group of trans people to, like, just go do public works stuff, like pick up trash on the side of the road, but just have, like, a lot of trans flags while we're doing it, you know, just do nice things for the community and be very openly trans about it. You know, like, finding ways to visibly show people, trans people doing good things. The problem is that kind of thing is going to draw people who just want attention, who are not trying to do something good. They're trying to get attention for being trans. And I want it to be both. You know, it has to be that we're getting attention for doing something good. So that can be a tough thing to, you know, it can be tough to get right. It's really tough to not just be totally ego-driven when you're trying to show everyone that you're doing something good. But at the same time, how do you showcase your ability to do something good other than loudly proclaiming it, you know? So now, part of the struggle for me is I'm trying to affect the way trans people are viewed on, like, a global scale, because that's where my audience and reach is. And I don't even have that much, you know, like, my numbers wise, I'm affecting, like, one person per 100 miles, 100 square miles of radius, like, on Earth or something like that. My audience is super spread out, and it's not super large, but I think that the types of people who consume my content tend to be people who do have an influence. They're people who, they hear the stuff I say, they think about it, and then they have conversations with other people about those topics, and so the things I talk about get talked about. And whether or not that comes directly back to me or not, whether that translates to me getting more views or making more money, my influence permeates. And that's the thing that I have had to be both the most careful with, but also the most insane with, because, like, a big part of me kind of disappearing and retiring was just being unsure, like, what messages am I trying to promote? Like, if I'm going to be live all the time, you know, if I'm going to really give my thoughts and opinions away, I have to be ready for the consequences of other people reacting to that, you know? And I'm not so much worried that people aren't going to like me or not going to like my opinions. I'm worried that there will be negative ramifications of saying the wrong thing, you know, or putting out the wrong energy or getting the wrong people attracted to my content. And so, you know, I had to really consider, what are my values? What am I trying to put out there before I start doing it? But at this point, I'm feeling very confident. You know, I took a break from YouTube. I went and got a regular job. That regular job showed me a really incredible vertical slice of America for the course of about a year. If you want to hear that story, the We Watch Anime podcast, Bird and I were doing it for the entire time that we were working, and we did it almost every week. A lot of the time there were gaps in between, but we were doing, I want to say there's something like 24 episodes of the show, and they're very long, and they always started off with us describing what we had been doing that week or in between the last two shows in a lot of detail. Sometimes those segments would go on for like an hour if it was really exciting what we did that week. So, you know, the entire story of us traveling the US, all of that exists as part of the We Watch Anime podcast, because at the time that was just going to be all we did from then on out. Like, I had no real intentions of coming back to YouTube in another form, but eventually we just decided that that job wasn't worth continuing to do, and it would probably be better off if he got a different job and I went back to YouTube. Squirrel's back. Bruv, are you about to climb me? Homie, what is this about? Are you just like, are you trying to scare me off? Are you worried I keep walking back through your path? Maybe I should head to a different area. My legs are starting to get tired anyway. I might continue this from the house. That squirrel is a freak. He really is fucking... He's definitely not like any other squirrel I've ever encountered. I've never run into such a confrontational, but not aggressive necessarily, squirrel. I think it's partially seeing me more than once and partially the Mr. Beast Feastables wrapper. If you weren't here for the earlier, when I met that squirrel earlier, it was definitely because I was holding the Mr. Beast Feastables wrapper. Let's see if I can get one of these fucking weird planes that constantly passes over this park on camera this time. I don't see which way it's coming though. Oh, whatever. It's always hard to... The sky is always blown out when I turn the camera around anyway, so it probably wouldn't be visible. I am the Witch of the Woods, it's true. They're acclimating to me. I did walk down back and forth down that path like 25 times just now. I know it looks like I'm just wandering the woods sometimes, but often I'll walk until I encounter where I see people, and then I go back the way I came. And so I'll just keep going back and forth through a certain area. But one of my legs is getting tired, so I'm thinking I'm gonna find a place to sit where I'm... Hey, another squirrel, but he's not coming towards me. That one's fatter. Well, I'll rant about anything anybody super chats me to rant about, so let me know what you want to hear about. I pretty much finished talking about Billionaires. Throw Wad, thanks for the $4.99. I don't know if you meant to type a message and it just didn't come through, but feel free to just type it in the chat if you did. But shout out. I hope that's how I read your name. Maybe it's Throw W-O-D. Possible viral video idea, unfinished animation and anime, stuff like Ava and the Gundam Doan's Island episode Monogatari. That would be a pretty big research project, and I don't really know anything about it currently. I would probably suggest that to someone else who already knows more of it. That sounds like a Kenny Lauderdale video, if I ever heard of one. But right now, I already have a huge pile of anime scripts. There's a few of them that have, honestly, all of them I think have equal potential to reach like I wrote them all to be accessible to any anime fan. Anybody who watches anime should be able to enjoy any of the We Watch Anime analysis videos that I wrote at the start of the year. Most of them are videos that I know for a fact, if my videos were just pulling large view counts on regular, like if they were hitting all of my subs, all of these videos would get a lot of views. And I know that because they're the same exact type of content I was doing in 2016 that would have gotten, you know, minimum 100,000, maximum as many as 1 million views, you know? There's no reason to think something like unrecommendable anime or anime versus content wouldn't appeal to pretty much every sector of the fandom. It's just a matter of getting the videos in front of them. And that is the difficult part, is I have to rely on a tremendous amount of spread of people, you know, actively resharing the videos, actively talking about them, and part of that requires them to be exceptionally good. I think the problem with the We Watch Anime videos is that, yeah, anybody would watch them, but they're not so mind-blowing that people are going to share them. So I don't really know how to get the foot in the door with those videos. Whereas I have some other ideas, like the Jujutsu Kaisen Evangelion one that I'm going to do now, that are just so fucking weird, it's easier for me to imagine people sharing it because nobody else would write that video. You know, it wouldn't just be taken for granted as a video about anime or whatever. Lapusha with Australian $5, thank you. So I already know what you think Sames Chummerton should do. But what do you think the future of Nick the co-writer should look like? So I don't know enough about that guy. I don't know if he's got his own drama. You know, I don't know how much he was covering up for James. I don't know what his skill set is. Like, if he was the co-writer and the scripts are almost entirely plagiarized, I wouldn't trust him. You know, I know that a lot of people have said that James threw him under the bus. I said that because I was looking at a bus that's driving in. But I don't know. It's hard to imagine having a future as a writer after everything you've co-written for was accused of plagiarism. But again, I haven't looked into the story about that guy too much. You know, I would hope he would just go find another career. The funny thing about YouTubers and people who work for YouTubers, they often have very weird relationships, and including myself. You know, the reason I don't really work with anybody anymore is that I've always found it difficult to find the lines between like where professionalism and friendship are. You know, like when you are just trying to simultaneously be like cool with somebody but also hiring them to do something specific, and like if you don't do that, like when it comes to editors and stuff like that, if they don't have a very particular voice and style, they never really make a name for themselves. Or if you don't like bring up who your editor is and like try to make them a person, you know, try to involve your co-writer. Like, think about Anthony Fantano. Like, he's had people who run his website for a long time, and now he started having them like in the videos and stuff. And I assume that part of that is he wants to create value for those people's name as well, that they're not just like, you know, these faceless, replaceable people. They're like a part of the channel, they're a part of the narrative. And again, I've seen how difficult this is for almost anybody with careers in YouTube to really maintain. Like Linus Tech Tips has had tons of problems. You know, Ego Raptor, Game Grumps, they've had problems. Like, the types of people who become YouTube celebrities tend to be egomaniacal psychopaths, you know, so they have a difficult time working with the people around them. And so, you know, I think when you enter into a partnership like that with like a co-writer or an editor, you've really gotta define like the boundaries of the relationship, or really be ready to go all in, like on this, like, all right, we're gonna do it, this whole thing together, and if we end up hating each other, the thing is fucking dead, you know, and hope it doesn't end in bloodshed, like biggest problem in the universe. But you know, I keep thinking about how, like, there's the two types of people who work for YouTubers, are the ones who either do end up getting involved or who never get involved, and usually those are the ones who are really getting fucked over. Like, the ones whose names never get mentioned, who really just get underpaid, who are considered interchangeable, you know, like, they're hired because they can do generic work quickly and not because they do good work. Like, people tend to get fucked over. So I don't know what category that guy falls into, you know, but it'd be interesting. Oh, Throwad wrote their super chat in the chat. Okay, let me go up to that. Damn, I really just purchased that without sending a message, Lamau, but I have two things I want to say. I hope you unify your branding because everything is fucking different anywhere, lol. And the second is, I'm having a hard time in a competitive sport and it feels stupid to continue to put effort into it, but I feel driven to do so even though it won't make me any money. Do you have any advice? So, when you say it won't make you any money, I wonder, because how true can that be, right? Like, let's say that you gave it your all and you know everything about the sport and you, like, you know, you're as good as you can be at it. Maybe you can't play in, like, the major leagues, but there's lots of other... Actually, you know, my advice, watch the anime Ping Pong. It's only 11 episodes, and it's kind of about this conundrum where, you know, it follows, like, the highest level high school, you know, tournament, like the big final tournament of all the highest level high schools in ping pong. And so everybody who's competing is one of the most talented people in the region, but ultimately, like, only the one who is the most talented out of those people is the one who's really going to have, like, a major league career. And so everybody else kind of has to figure out, what is my relationship to ping pong? Like, do I really want to keep doing it even if I can't be the greatest? Am I good enough to be a coach? Am I good enough to be a teacher? Am I good enough to be a commentator? Am I good enough to stay involved? Would I be better off if I did something else? Are there other things in my life I care about more that maybe I should put my focus into and forget about this thing? You know, like, you got to always remember there's more avenues to explore a thing that you love than just to be the best or to make the most money at it. Wow, I've never come into this section of the field from that direction before. And as for the other part of what you said, blah, blah, unify my branding, yeah. So, I guess what, should I just change the name of the channel to Trixie the Golden Witch? I don't know. It's so... My branding is definitely kind of fucky. I mean, if you're on Instagram or Twitter, it's at Golden Witch Fire. You know, if you search Trixie the Golden Witch anywhere, you're gonna get me. Like, Trixie the Golden Witch is in the tags of every video I post. It's, you know, Trial of the Golden Witch is close enough, I think, right? I understand that Yig Studio now feels like the odd brand out, right? Because, like, I've got Trixie the Golden Witch on most places, and then my channel is called Yig Studio. But that's also partly because I want to be able to... I don't want to have to change the channel name in the future if I change what the channel is for. You know, I wanted a name that would encapsulate no matter what I was going to do, so that specifically I would never have to change the channel name again. But if the channel name isn't actually, like, causing it any benefit, then it might be that changing it could be a benefit. Like, what if right now not changing it isn't actually as good, as effective as changing it would be? I don't know. Changing it historically has been bad. So that's why I tried to pick something I would never have to change. But what if changing it could be good? I don't know. Put it to a vote or something. Actually, Digibro was not at Digibro ever. It was at Digibrah, B-R-A-H, because I could not get at Digibro, which was very confusing for a lot of people. A lot of people not following my account on Twitter. So it wasn't quite as simple and straightforward as you think. I also had like 12 different channels. Nothing was ever called Digivlog either. There was Digibro After Dark as the other channel. But there was also, you know, there were other channels that also had Digi in the name. But I was also involved in plenty of stuff that didn't really have the same unified branding. I do think that as soon as I stopped using the Digibro name, everything fell into chaos, but that's partly because it took me a while to actually decide on what the branding would be going forward. So now I'm kind of still feel like I'm in the early stages of building up Trixie the Golden Witch as a brand. Like I've only done a few shows, podcasts and stuff where I actually came on and said, I'm Trixie the Golden Witch, you know, so I think I'd have to do more kind of appearances and get more people to recognize my current branding before I could really say that it was the branding's problem, you know. Emmy Yon with £5. Hey Trixie, hope you're doing okay. I was wondering if you still agree with your neurotyping idea. I mean, agree with is an interesting phrasing. I still think it's really cool. I think it's a really neat idea. I don't think I would build the template the same way I did before. I have been giving it a lot of thought. I want to eventually do a follow-up. You know, eventually I will reintroduce it. And there has been for a long time, there's actually somebody just made a video. I wish I could remember the name of the channel. It's slipping out of my head. If you just search like neurotyping right now, just look for the newest video about it that somebody's made. Acculturation, is it? No, that's the wrong channel. God damn it. What the fuck is his name? This dude's name always slips out of my mind. Anyway, whatever. There's a video about all of the updates that people who have been talking about. There's like a Discord, the Neurocord, where they discuss the neurotyping idea, and it has been continued to be talked about by them for a long time. So anything new that they've come up with has been chronicled in videos, but I've had my own thinking about it, and I would probably just take a whole different direction in how I explain it all. But here's what the biggest fuck up, in my opinion, of the neurotyping is that I was too ready to conflate logical thinking with words-based thinking. That, like, I looked at it like there's people who think more in words and more in a logical sense, and then people who think more in like images and sounds and in more of an emotional sense. And then also that like there was different levels of complexity of how much, you know, is going on in your head at a time. And for some people there's a lot of both. And so, you know, when I first made the neurotyping thing, I put myself slightly more onto the logical side because of the fact that I am so words focused. Even though, like, you know, there's lots of other stuff besides words in my thinking, a lot of music, a lot of images and stuff, but like words are so prominent. But the way that I use words is not hyperlogical. I use metaphors constantly. I use lots of slant vocabulary. I actually bend language in more ways than most people would who know as much language as I do. Most people who know as many rules as I know are not breaking as many rules as I am when they use the language. So in that sense, when I really, you know, reconsidered my position on the chart and realized like I don't belong this far on the rational side, you know, I belong more on the imaginative side, but I'm imaginative by way of words, more so than by way of sounds and images. But it's because the words are tied to me, like, I think some people, they hear a word and then they think, ah, that word means this, you know, like, and for me, it's more like a word has feeling, you know, like what the word means can change depending on how the word feels. And you know, there's uh there's too much abstraction in the way that we interact with words. I do think words in and of themselves, like, in order for words to come out, the logical part of your brain has to be engaged. But I don't think I don't even know if that's necessarily true inside your head. Like, I don't know if you have to engage the logical part of your brain to think words. I don't know that. I'd have to talk to a neuroscientist, but that would definitely change my, like, if you can think words without using the part of your brain that says words, then, you know, I feel like it just, like, suggests that words are that much more a part of the imagination until they exit your mouth. And even if you do have to pass through the logical part of your brain to make words inside your brain, they still are interpretations being passed back and forth between the emotional and logical segments, you know? So, yeah. Hopefully that all makes sense. Neurotype line, thank you. Yeah, I like to think neurotyping helped a lot of people understand themselves better. It certainly helped me understand how to communicate with other people better. Because I just feel like there was like, something I guess that I've been on about in the same way that I felt about when I was realizing neurotyping. Like, the realization I'm more on now is about how I think everyone puts a lot more thought into what they do, but has a lot less control over what they do than anybody else would think. Like, when we see other people make decisions, like, you can sometimes figure out the logic through which they approached the decision, but at the same time be like, how did you find yourself in a position to make this decision, you know? And usually like, they wouldn't know either. It's just like, you know, for me, like, doing these live streams, right? Like, this is not a conclusion I would have naturally come to if not for, like, the circumstances surrounding me presenting it to me, you know, like. But now that I'm doing it, I feel like I have no choice, because it makes so much more money so much quicker and gets such a good reaction that until that stops being the case, it's like, well, fuck, like, this is I kind of, for my own good, have to do this, you know? So in that sense, like, even though I'm doing it on purpose, I'm doing it intentionally, I'm putting a lot of thought into what I'm going to say and how I'm going to approach making it, at the same time, I don't feel like I'm doing it because, like, you know, I'm not doing it because I think I want to do it more than anything else. I just think it's the most logical decision for me to make, you know? And I think that's what most people are doing. Most people are just making whatever seems the most logical to them at that moment. And so they understand what they're doing more than it looks like. It's just that what they're doing is weird, you know, because you can't wrap your head around how they ended up doing that. Basim Hassani with £4.99. Thank you. How has your own journey with identity affected your opinions on certain anime? Oh, massively. Massively. I talked about this a bit on, I think, yesterday's stream, how, like, growing up, I'm not even just growing up, even as an adult, like, if a character was a woman, I just felt as though I am just, by way of, you know, I didn't see myself as a woman until transition, because I just didn't have a conception of a transgender person. And so I looked at it like, well, I'm inherently different from a woman, so I cannot relate to a woman, you know? And so I just felt like anime, despite how much I came to it for a sense of personal fulfillment, also felt weirdly alienating because it's like there were no male characters I could relate to, but also I'm telling myself I can't relate to these female characters because they're female, and that would be somehow weird, or I don't know. There's a lot of weird ideas you get when, you know, you're raised in a very masculine society, surrounded by people who basically just regard, you know, like, as a man, wanting to be feminine in any way must be perversion, is how a lot of guys think. And it's like, to me, it's almost the opposite. It's like the least perverse thing. It's the desire for self-betterment, you know? But, yeah, like when it comes to anime, almost immediately on transition, you know, I made a video that was about, this is still up, I think, about like, just comparing myself to like every anime character from the position I now think of them, where it's like, here's all the girls that I should have been saying I relate to all along, because that's what drew me to these shows, is that I relate to these characters. But I was just telling myself, well, there's an important difference between me and them, you know? And once I stopped considering that a difference important, it became clear, like, well, no, actually there's not a lot of important differences between me and these characters, you know? And it also changed my perspective on some characters that I see in media, where like a lot of guy characters that I always looked at it like every guy in anime is supposed to be someone other guys are supposed to want to be. So that was another part of the struggle, is not just that I didn't relate to them, but there's so few guy anime characters I would want to be like. But when I changed my perspective to what about people I would want to hang out with? What about guys I would want to date? You know, like if I put the male characters into the position I'd been putting the female characters into before, then suddenly it made a lot more sense, where it's like, oh yeah, well, I would want to be, you know, if I was this anime girl, well, yeah, of course I'd want to hang out with this anime guy, you know, like, so it definitely changed my relationship with characters, my relationship with how I project onto characters, basically just by removing insecurity from the equation, removing this idea that this hang up I had about gender and what it means for my ability to relate to shows. And yeah, I would say it's also taken the, like, for me, I think I spent a lot of time being very like hypersexual, and I don't know if I don't know if the change comes through in the content. I don't talk about sex that much anymore, except in my music. When I do talk about it, I talk about it very raunchily. So I could see still thinking of me as like a very sexual character. But I was much more defensive of like sexuality in anime before, because it was a form of sexual expression available to me, you know, as somebody who didn't know how to express myself sexually as a man, other than just being like wretched, basically, you know, because that's how I viewed male sexuality, is basically as wretched. And you know, once I was over that, I feel like I get enough out of like my own sexuality in real life that I don't need to project it through anime all the time, you know? And so a lot of that, like the part of me that needed to see cute girls in a show to want to like to care about the show, that part of me is dead. That's the part of me that goes, well, what do I care that she's a cute girl, you know? Like, what is that gonna do for me? Lapucia with Australian $2. Thoughts on the show Big Mouth in the lolly debate? I don't know about what, I hope I'm not walking on, like I'm realizing there's these big mounds here that I'm walking on. I'm like, I hope these aren't like burial mounds, because this is exactly what burial mounds look like, and I don't know what they're over here for otherwise, so I'm gonna not walk on them just in case. Well, I've never been to this side of the park before. I'm just realizing I've never crossed that particular hill. I didn't even realize there's like a tennis court over here and shit. Anyway, I don't know anything about Big Mouth. I know it's uglier than fucking sin. I've heard creepy things. I think like people don't like the creator or something. I don't know, all I've ever heard about Big Mouth is people complaining about Big Mouth, so it's something I've never looked into. I'm not a fan of like repulsive looking cartoons, you know. There was a lot of stuff that looked like that in the 90s, and Adult Swim also has run a lot of just, you know, just shows that just look gross, and I've never really gotten it. I don't know if it's all because of Ren and Stimpy, but Ren and Stimpy took it, like, I remember kind of liking Ren and Stimpy as a kid. Even then I thought that parts of it were too gross for me, but like, that show was so extreme and so expressive with the animation, and I think if you're not taking it that far, you're just making like a gross looking show. I don't really see the point. Look at how cool this area I'm walking into looks. Tell me this doesn't look like I'm walking into a Dark Souls level. No, missed super chats. Which ones? Let me go back. I will find them. Oh, Julia Cutis with $5. Totally missed. Did you rant about comments on comments? I enjoyed it last New Year. Oh, I also missed Shadow Priest with $2. When did I miss all this? Why have you become so anti-billionaire lately? I'll answer both of these. Julia first. So, I did not rant about comments on comments. I would like to bring it back. I basically created a Twitter chat of all of the best memers that I know to supply me with comments and memes for that show. And I didn't really even get to, I only made 3 episodes, and then Bird and I started our cross-country trip, and then he got a job, and basically I have not been able to do any form of live streaming that isn't like walking around in the woods with a camera. So once I figure out how to get like a situation where I can do full desktop live streaming regularly, Comments on Comments isn't supposed to be that long of a show. I know some of them have been very long. Although I guess idealistically it would be long, because then I'd have lots of super chats I was reading. But you know, I think I could probably find time for it once a week. It would just be, it's a lot more effort than this for a lot less money. There's literally nothing I could do that would be a better turnover than these streams. Like, how do I put it? I think I am making more per day doing these vertical live streams to like 40 people than I have ever made per day doing YouTube as a career. That's how much more lucrative it is for me to do this. And again, like, I've always known this is possible. There just wasn't really the technological pocket. Like, it wasn't, this is the time. This is the time for me to be doing vertical live streams. So right now, not terribly concerned about relaunching Comments on Comments, because I know it would get less views and make less money than doing this. But if I can do it in a way that feels more like this, you know, if I can evolve it a little bit, I think it can come back. There is an aspect of Comments on Comments to these live streams also. This whole thing has been, the theme of this particular episode is me ranting at commenters who were simping billionaires, who I got really upset with. So, you know, the spirit lives on. The spirit lives on. Hopefully you're still there, Julia. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to that. And from Shadow Priest, who asked, why have I become so anti-billionaire lately? Mostly because I've realized how big of a problem billionaires are. And again, I mean, I guess I've kind of been on an anti-billionaire thing since Epstein. Like, that was kind of the real eye-opener for me, was like, I've said this a few times, there are not that many billionaires. There's not a ton of them. To be a billionaire necessitates that you have a faction. Like, you can't do it by yourself. You can't just be a guy with $1 billion, you know, like, as an island. You own corporations, you own people's jobs, you own people's livelihoods, you own intellectual property. People have to be there to help you do whatever you're doing. And in that sense, it's no different from a government. So if billionaires are more powerful than the government, then that means that essentially we're saying that, like, if you have the opportunity to accrue enough wealth and keep it, then you're personal morality is allowed to exceed that of everyone else in the country. And the only reason that we're allowing this to happen is that there's not enough people willing to be involved in the government. We won't make the government profitable enough in and of itself to be able to compete with billionaires. And I think that's fair because we don't trust the government, and we shouldn't. So, but I don't think we should trust billionaires either. It's like it's a problem of people don't think about. People want instant gratification, and so they're always going to buy things that are good for them in the moment, but bad for them in the long term. And it is every incentive of people who want to keep power to keep everyone else disempowered by taking whatever power they have and replacing it with something worse. So like if you have $5 and you go buy McDonald's, like you just gave away more power than you can realize. Because you're thinking, $5, whatever. But it's like, yeah, but $5 in Brazil would be worth 5 times more. So like, what if you had invested that money in like buying something that was worth $5 but could be worth more when you resold it in another place or something? Like, there's smart ways to use your money that will make your money multiply, but almost every interaction that you have with anyone else's ideas are going to be trying to convince you to waste your money. Like everything that is advertised to you, everything that somebody is reaching out to you to get you to do, including me, I'm trying to get you to waste your money on me. I want my audience to like me and consider me a moral person on some level, so I encourage people not to give me money if they can't afford it. But ultimately, these streams are about making me money through you. Why does it come down on you? Because you want to hear the types of messages that sponsors won't sponsor, unless Mr. Beast shows up with that fucking Feastables sponsorship. Mr. Beast, I believe he would sponsor these messages. I believe Mr. Beast would pay me to say that billionaires are pedophiles. I think Mr. Beast would pay me to say that there's no morality in an unraped billionaire. I think he would pay me to say that. So Mr. Beast, please prove that not every message is just trying to rip you off. Some of us are trying to rip you off and save your life at the same time. You know, why should you back me? How am I going to make you money when a billionaire won't? Well, I spread messages of your people. You know, the billionaires, they're not your people. I am your people. And when I get to the top, I'll never become a billionaire because I'll be spreading the wealth around so much. That's the thing. People keep saying like, oh, if you're a billionaire, you can give money to so many people. No, if you were giving money to people, you would never make it to a billionaire. Money would be going through you, not to you. Mr. Beast has probably given away more than $1 billion. But he only has $500 million. And most of that's not his to spend. That's his money to reinvest in giving more money to more people. So please, you know, my personal needs, not very expensive. More than I can afford, not very expensive. My personal needs are a lot of weed. There's so much broken glass. There is so much broken glass. There are substantially more tents and substantially more clothes in this woods than there usually is. So much broken glass. How is there so much it's literally like, oh, there's a campfire actually. Somebody had a campfire out here. Yeah, somebody definitely lived out here last night, I think. But I don't know why they decided to break 24 fucking glass bottles all over the trail. This is not always a homeless encampment. Maybe this part of the woods is actually. I don't usually come this far because I'm kind of on the far side of the woods. So maybe it's usually more homeless over here because fewer people walk over here. I'm going back to the other side of the woods. There's not fucking broken glass everywhere. The government gets 4+ trillion in income each year, way more than any business ever could, or individual for that matter. Yeah. And like, but again, there's no one, like the government is not, we think of it as an entity, but the government is a concept, you know, it's like a whole shitload of people. Something like a pretty fucking sizable percentage of America works for the government. And honestly, it could be more. Like, it would be better. So I was tweeting about this the other day, that I think what's coming when the fogies are dead, when everybody whose brand is recognizable is gone, like, because after this political generation, like once all these old guys die, there's nobody with the brand cachet they have. There's no Trump, there's no Biden. You can't run Obama again, you know, like there's just nobody with the brand cachet to be like a shoo-in for where politics is going. So it's gonna have to come down to a choice. Like, we're gonna have to pick who are our guys. Like, every team, every single team, once all their fogies are dead, who is our guys? So how do I think this is going to be determined? Sex appeal, almost exclusively. Sexy is the only thing people respond to, because in this generation we've got so much sex media blasting by us all the time. It's hard to even register something if it's not sexy. So I think the only way you're going to get people to care about the government is you have to make working for the government look sexy. Put sexy people as the face of the government, hire as many sexy people into the government as you can, do modeling shoots on government money, just anything you can to make the government look sexy. Because people have to think they're going to get laid for joining the government instead of being famous. You have to make being in the government look better than being famous. Being famous has to be ridiculed. Being famous has to be considered reserved for like only people who are very morally just. I think that's where Kendrick's trying to take society, you know? He's like, hey, you're not allowed to be, like, people aren't allowed to respect you just for giving them stuff they like anymore. You have to also be a good person. Or else everybody has to guiltily, you know, admit that they still listen to your shit despite knowing you're a bad person. But you can't get away with being a hero, you know, in the public, and a villain under wraps. So, you know, I think as we shame stars and famous people and the rich more and more, it will look like not a way to get laid. Like, if everybody thinks that every billionaire is a sex predator, nobody's going to spend time with billionaires. If billionaires are only trying to make all that money so that they can be sex predators, well, then they're going to be like, well, what the fuck? How do I get laid if if people aren't attracted to my money? I have to be a fucking good person or some shit. So, you know, I'm not saying working for the government makes you a good person. I'm just saying that, you know, if you wanted to beat out people simping billionaires and giving all their money to the rich so that they can be more like them and, you know, sim the life of a rich person, you got to make that look really unsexy compared to being like a boring government desk jockey. Make people think that that will get you infinite puss. Which, truth be told, probably is a way better way to get laid than, you know, going around being inauthentic and like wearing overpriced crap, ending up with fake, childish, superficial people who don't really know how to pleasure someone because they're really just in it for self-gratification. So how are they ever going to know what you want, you know? How do I get laid just as a normal guy, though? Well, you go on the internet and you go find, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not the person you ask for that. I am definitely not a sexpert in any way, shape, form, or description. Frankly, sex is just a notch above mortifying to me. You know, it's great when you do it with someone you love. Otherwise, it's a fucking vortex, a black hole, an emotional vacuum. You think what's as likely as me getting a Mr. Beast sponsorship? Because that would mean it's extremely likely. It means it's almost definitely going to happen. I even said that in front of a person just now. That's how confident I am. My Mr. Beast sponsorship is coming in the mail, not even by email, in the mail. And it's all because of this. Because I carry around the wrapper of a Feastables while I stream. That's why Mr. Beast knows who I am already and is flying his team out here by helicopter to personally deliver a sponsorship to my doorstep. Just a little 10 grand, that's it. Not like a whole crazy thing. Just like a little 10 grand, you know? Just a little 10 grand, that's it. Just to mention Feastables in every stream and how I carry around a wrapper of it in my pocket. Just a little 10 grand, I'll do it all year. You know, just a little 10 grand. That's all I ask. Mr. Beast. Itty bitty 10 grand. Carry around a Feastables and mention it on every stream. Wrapper. And complain about the flavors I don't like. I'll do it on every stream. Convince me you don't want a Mr. Feastables right now. That's right, I changed the name of the brand. It's a Mr. Feastables now. Fuck you, Mr. Beast. Pay me. Where's my 10 grand? I haven't heard any helicopter flapping overhead yet, so I know you're late. Gotta get my motherfucking money. Alright, I'm not gonna do this too much longer. So if anybody's got anything they want me to rant about, send in your super chats now. Get it in before I get out of the forest, because I'm headed home. We've got a $5 from Shadow Priest. Why are you anti-politics and anti-democrat when they're the only ones fighting for trans rights? Politics are how we get dumb bathroom bills and stuff. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea where you got these impressions or when I said those exact statements. But, I mean, I've been nothing but political on this entire stream, so... anti-democrat because they're a political party. Are you kidding me? Could you imagine supporting the Clinton party? Like, you're out of your mind. Supporting a political party is fucking daft. It's like supporting a billionaire. Actually, it's exactly the same thing. Political party, billionaire, no real difference. Now I understand individual politicians almost innately have to find themselves aligned with a party, and if a politician you like is a Democrat and you want to support them, that's cool. But saying you support Democrats as a matter of fact is full-blown retarded. Don't do that. That's right. We brought back the R slur on the stream. Uh-oh. There goes my monetization. But, you know, people who simp billionaires in political classes, they really need the offense. I need them to remember a sound that resonates through their ears. I can't believe she said a word I wouldn't say. That's how they remember. Yeah, I don't think the Democrats broadly can be called fighting for trans rights. I think there's people who fight for trans rights who maybe identify as Democrats. But I think the law follows the spirit of the law. The law does not come before the spirit of the law. You cannot be a prescriptive lawmaker. You must be a descriptive lawmaker. And so in order for you to promote trans rights, the politics will follow the culture. You have to make people independently want their government to be pro-trans rights. If you try to change it from the government level down, people will reject it because they see it as an outsider who they hate coming in to change their culture. You need to change their culture from the inside, make them want the government to be different. So, the smartest place for a trans person to be right now would be with the Republicans, making changes inside of the Republican Party to change the minds of people who are transphobic. Maybe hanging out with right-wing people who are involved in the arts, who only really have a problem with woke marketing and actually have no problem with trans people, provided that they don't try to change the texture of their fucking comic books. Hanging out with those kind of people and making those kind of people like you as a trans person, I'd like to think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. Oh, well, good luck with that. Well, I'm the one who hangs out with the inner circle of Comicsgate, not anybody else. So, you know, tell me about it on the flip side. All right, we're getting close to being out of the woods. I've got maybe 5-10 minutes left before I'm cutting this off and heading back home. So any more super chats, any more rant requests, throw them in. We're not quite out of the woods yet. We're rimming the woods right now, but we're gonna dip back in. We're gonna dip back into the area I was walking in at the start of this. For the first hour, I was kind of just walking back and forth on one path. And then for the second hour, I went pretty much all the way through the forest. And now I'm almost back to the path I was on originally. But I've taken a different route to get back there than I had taken to leave. So, you know, it's not going to be as obvious unless that squirrel comes out to say hi when I pass him by again. If I have 3 encounters with that goddamn squirrel, I'm going to be like, you're a main character now. You're no longer just a support character. You're now a sidekick. What y'all been talking about? Mr. Beast, come and sponsor me. And I won't make fun of you when you get $1 billion. Well, I'll just keep you from ever. Mr. Beast, sponsor me and I will help to keep you from ever becoming an evil billionaire. I'll make sure you live a great and happy life without ever becoming... Anytime you're starting to get too close, I'll just take all that extra. You know, you start to see, oh shit, I have almost got $1 billion. I'm about to become an evil psychic pedophile. Please, Trixie, take some of this money off my hands. Gladly. Gladly I will, Mr. Beast. Until I get too close to $1 billion. And then I'm going to have to find somebody to hot potato. Oh no, no, I'm falling in mud. Oh no, I took the wrong path. Oh god, I sank into quick mud. God damn it. Oh, I shouldn't have tried to walk through that. It's always too muddy. I just thought maybe it would be different. But why would it be? It's just rained. Oh, there's so much mud on my fucking shoe. Well, that sucks. Now I really want to go home. I got mud in my sock. Now I got a little tiny wet spot in my sock. My shoes are all full of rocks. I'm thinking I gotta stop walking around in my flip-flops. They're closer to Crocs, but not quite. They're moccasins. But like mocks, probably. Got them in Minnesota. How's it going, everybody? We're getting close to being out of the woods. This is the last call. Absolute last call for Super Chat rants. I have time to go on one last epic rant, the likes of which this world has never seen and will never see again. But with every passing second, it becomes closer to a rant that the world has already seen and will see many times over. So, you know, if you want that true legendary shit, you've only got 5 seconds. Let me get some shit out of my fucking sock. Too many spines and muds. I never dissed Trixie, but if I did, I would call her the biggest SAO fan alive. You know, I'm definitely not the biggest SAO hater alive. I even made the argument that it was better than the Asterisk War that time, so, you know, it's not too bad of an insult. Zach with $2. How did your family react to your transition? Well, fact of the matter is, I kind of didn't tell them at first. I waited. Basically, I revealed my intent to transition on Twitter, and my mom found out, and she was mostly just upset that I didn't talk to her first. You know, that she found out from the internet. But I was like, I don't know how to, if I had known how to talk about this at any time, I would have, you know. But I never did and never did. So, but you know, once, like, I lived across the country from them at the time. I was living in Virginia, where I am now, but they were living in California. And so it was difficult to, like, really communicate much about it with them. You know, I kind of, little bits and pieces, tried to talk, and then eventually I ended up living with them, like, maybe a year later. So that made it a little bit easier for them to kind of see, you know, what does it mean that I've gender transitioned? Like, how different am I really? What am I going through, you know? And at the time I was taking HRT that I had picked up in Virginia, but I couldn't get the same treatment in California because of, they needed me to have insurance for whatever reason, and they did not need that here. So, you know, but I ended up not doing it for like a year and a half after that move, just because I couldn't get my hands on it again, until such a point that I got, you know, homemade estrogen from a friend that I've been taking for the last 9 months or so, and living with my parents again. So, you know, I think from my dad's perspective, it's just a matter of remembering to use the right pronouns, and he hasn't really changed his behavior at all. I think it makes a little more sense to my mom, who, you know, has some understanding of what it would mean to feel like a woman, you know. To my dad, it's like, well, I wouldn't know what that means in the first place. So, you know, it's less to, like, relate to. Maybe it makes it easier for him to understand why we struggle to relate on a lot of things. But my dad is really who I get most of my philosophical side from. So when I talk to him, it tends to be more conceptual, philosophical type stuff, or about, like, you know, our plans for the future, or our overall state of being. Whereas with my mom, you know, I might talk about more personal, just like stories and stuff that is going on, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Neither one had like a very strong reaction, other than my mom being upset that she found out through Twitter. That was the main contention. Joseph Anderson coasts on streams now and has been for a long time. I mean, it just takes the skill to be able to do it, right? Like, I've always known that streamers make more money than YouTubers, but it's a question of, can you do hours of content every day? Like, it really is. I couldn't have done this before. I didn't have the mental clarity I spent too much of my time dissociated. I was too hung up in like, what am I trying to prove with my project besides just like making something for the audience that the audience likes and will pay me for. That's all I care about now. Like, I've already proven whatever I needed to prove. You know, I've rapped about this a lot, but I already see the effects of my influence. Like, when I talked about yesterday in the stream how like the anime analysis space has become so beautiful to me because like everything I wanted to happen and that I was trying to create, like trying to influence, has happened. I am now living in the world I created, you know? So I don't feel the need to like show off my skills or my intelligence. I already have proof of that. I just want to create something that people like, that I can support myself through, you know? So like, if I know people like when I make, you know, epic analysis videos, and I'm still gonna do that, but if that doesn't offer enough to translate to this kind of more, you know, more profitable and mutually beneficial thing, then yeah, I wouldn't want to keep doing it. Demolition D did the same thing, you know, like he would put so much effort into his YouTube videos and they typically just got copyright struck and removed. And eventually he was like, well, fuck it, people just like my personality, I'll just fucking Twitch stream if I'm gonna make money, you know? Like, and he never regarded YouTube as like a respectable creative medium. That's a big part, I think, of why he bowed out, is that like other people started taking it seriously in that way, and he was just like, yeah, but I don't look at it like that, you know? I don't think it's actually, I think this shit all kind of sucks. And granted, I think that YouTube content has improved dramatically in the sense of how good it is. Like, I think, you know, a lot of my a lot of the people I would consider the all-time best YouTubers are right now making their best content. Oki's Weird Stories, he just put out a video the other day on the Bundy family, 2.5 hour documentary, super in-depth, unbelievably above the level of what anybody else is doing as a documentarian on YouTube. You know, Brandon Rogers makes the funniest sketch comedy videos I've ever seen on the platform. Mr. Beast's videos are just the most hyped, ridiculous, like the final evolution of what like a platonic ideal of a YouTube video is, so to speak. You know, you've got Whistlin' Diesel, the funniest, just angry, like caustic reviewer, but he's wrecking cars instead of, you know, Nintendo games. Yeah, I think we're in a really great period for YouTube content. All right, I'm gonna end the stream in just a moment. I've made it to the end of the woods, just clearing some brush off my socks, and making sure nobody has anything left for me to rant about before I wrap this up. And you all see me probably tomorrow, because I'll probably go edit some other shit, work on my Jujutsu Kaisen versus Evangelion video or something. Go listen to my new song, By Daybreak. It's on YouTube, it's on Twitter, it's on Bandcamp, it'll be on Spotify probably tomorrow morning, Apple Music. It's good motivational music for creative people, or workout music. It should work equally for both. All right, everybody. It's been good. See ya.